Now is the time to get serious and ask my top 10 questions. Are you ready, Steve?
Yes, I succeeded at one question.
Yes. Oh, shoot. There are 11 questions. All right, so here we go. Question number 1.
Yeah.
If you had to choose between the two, which one would you pick? Batman's utility belt or a fanny pack?
Oh, I would absolutely take a fanny pack because I have more choice. And Batman's utility belt, you have to be. His utility belt was built for him, and I want a fanny pack that's built for me. And
That makes a lot of sense.
I can build that. I can put whatever I can fit in a fanny pack. Even with the space constraints, I could put what's in there that I feel that I would need.
Right? You could totally customize the fanny pack.
Yep.
I never thought about that. Yeah, Batman's utility belt is designed for him. So, like, maybe it's too big, or maybe it's too small, or like it doesn't.
Well, and Jeff, the other thing is, it's it's not, we live in a world that's not one size fits all. It's not a one size fits all, and this is how I see children. I actually I've been trying to shift my language. Not children, it's child. We have to see child.
Wait, why? Why'd you go singular?
Because we have to see each child as an individual. And what often happens as we see children as this collective, we create for the collective with disregard for the child. So we are finding a middle point to create for. In schools and educational systems do that. They teach to a third, whether it's the bottom third, top third, or middle third.
Right.
And as we teach to child, it is, it might just be a nuance, but I think it's an important nuance for us to think about. How do we relate to child?
I love this. Children versus child. Batman utility belt versus fanny pack. This is great. So let's keep it going. Question number 2. Steve, what is your favorite movie?
Oh my gosh, that is uniquely challenging. And in my most recent oldie goldie is the Agony and the Ecstasy, because I am into Michelangelo and I just saw that movie recently.
So fresh.
A movie that really, that has really influenced me and has tweaked me has been, it was with Mary Tyler Moore, Donald Sutherland, Timothy Hutton. Oh, I can't remember his name, but mom is a very domineering, dad is kind of passive, and they had a son that died, and Timothy Hutton is the leftover son. I'm saying that very intentionally. He wasn't the athlete; he was the leftover son that didn't die, and he lived with an enormous amount of interesting depression and sadness. And the mother always wanted him to be like the son that drowned.
Right.
So, what's it called? It'll come to me. So I'm sorry. People might remember that, but it's a long timeline. And then the other one that just gets me absolutely gut busting laughing is Weekend at Bernie's. I
haven't thought about that movie in years.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
Just, hey.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh.
And I know you didn't ask for this, but I'm going to share it anyway. But during all COVID, I have really focused on a lot of Hallmark. Because although it's all predictable, they really navigate conflicts and people talk to each other.
Right.
Love is love, and everybody lives happily ever after. It's very predictable. But, in a world of unpredictable every day and a lot of need for depression, I need it, some consistent joy, and know that there is a happy ever after life.
Yeah, yeah. I, I'll give you a cheers for that. And with that other movie that you were talking about, it reminded me of Lord of the Rings when you had the Steward of Gondor and he's got his two boys and the one dies and the other one is never good enough. And I mean, it's the same. Sounds very similar. Like I wish, Dad, you probably wish that I was my brother and I'll go out here. And the father like it's brutal. Thank you. Hey, I know that these are kind of unfair questions to ask you for your favorite, but I'm gonna keep it going. If you want to change the rules and give me like one of many favorites, that's fine. Totally acceptable. But the next question is, what is your favorite quote?
All behavior has meaning.
Ooh. Care to elaborate?
We live in that. We live in the fact that all behavior has meaning. When we see children's behavior, when we see our own behavior, it all has meaning. And I would like to say we made that up, but I doubt it. But that's part of our mantra, and I think it's probably one of the most powerful statements as we live in the worlds of social service, education, really business. All behavior has meaning. If we understood that, it would heighten our empathy. It would heighten our empathy and our ability to view it. So yeah, all behavior has meaning, and and of course, there's the classic Gandhi's. And actually, sometimes they say Gandhi didn't say this, but I'm going to give him credit for it. But it is, be the change you wish to see. I mean, that's really important, and that is, really leaning into yourself and understanding who you are in this world. And right now, we constantly are seeing. We see a lot of not that, and.
No.
And people are talking at things and not with things. We talk to it, we talk at it, but we're not like with it. So we really need to think about that differently. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, be the change you want to see really sparks people to take ownership and responsibility for themselves. And the other quote, all behavior has meaning. As a coach, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, the behavior is learned. It's very, in my opinion, very symptomatic of an underlying root need or desire or belief that is either being met or not. And if we're able to hold it as that, as opposed to the defining characteristic, I think we can do a lot. That's good.
I just remembered the name.
I'm sorry, we have no time for that.
Yeah,
I was kidding. Go ahead.
That movie, a favorite movie. It's Ordinary People.
Ordinary People. I gotta write that down. Yeah,
it's worth looking at.
Ordinary People. Check. Well, Mr. Steve, this brings us to question number 4. What would you say is the best advice that you have ever received? I stumped him.
It's really, really challenging. Wow. That is really, really, really hard. And one of the reasons it's so challenging is that, in my life as a learner and as somebody who has been, lived in the world of trauma, I'm constantly looking for hooks to help me and to heal me. And so there's a lot of advice that I will take and I try it on for size. And I see if I'm comfortable in my shoe. And sometimes the best advice is the worst advice because it teaches us something. If you lean into the advice and you try it on for size and you go, ooh, that's a pathway that we don't want to go down. And it helps us, continue the search. So I don't know if that makes sense at all, but I've gotten I surrounded myself with when I was early in my career as an educator and started to realize the impact of it. I was surrounded by just fabulous people, and they were always giving me nuggets, whether they knew it or not. They always gave me nuggets of just pure wisdom, and I would take it, and the advice was not always verbal advice. My one of my mentors and my like the woman who really stands at the forefront, Mary Ross. At the season during Halloween season, she would every day she greeted kids at the car door and would open up the car and greet children and shepherd them in. And I got to watch her engage with every child, and she understood child. It wasn't children. She understood child.
She was the fanny pack.
She was it, and she could pull out anything for anybody, anytime. So that was, a dose of wisdom that I got to see in action. And sometimes we wait for it to come through a big thundering lightning bolt, but it's not about a big thundering lightning bolt. It's Mary greeting kids and looking at them and calling them by name. And I could lean into that and go, God, I wish I was getting out of that car. And she could call me, oops, I could go there. She could call me by name. And so that's enormous advice. So
advice through modeling versus words. That's good. Well, I've lost track of how many years we've known each other, but as long as I've known you, you seem to walk that out, and I really appreciate that.
So it's some of the greatest things are the nuances that we don't even know sometimes are coming our way.
Well, hey, since you went early in your career, let's go back even further. Way back in time to when you were a kid, what was your favorite childhood toy?
Well, so from about 7 or 8, it was a basketball. That was a toy. Prior to that, it was my Jungle Gym hunting rifle.
Really? Jungle Gym hunting rifle before you were 7 or 8?
It was at 4, 5, 6 years of age, Jungle Gym.
I am unfamiliar with the Jungle Gym hunting rifle.
Well,
can you tell me more?
It was kind of interesting. In our neighborhood, they didn't shop at like big box stores, or because we didn't have them. And in the grocery store at Christmas, they would have toys and things that the neighborhood could buy for their kids. And Jungle Gym was just a name toy. It was nothing else. It wasn't a superhero. It was just Jungle Gym. It had a scope on it. It did nothing other than went click, click. And I just thought it was the coolest thing on earth. Because typically I always felt that all I ever got for Christmas was a pair of socks, and t-shirt.
Oh. Underwear and a t-shirt?
And socks. That's kind of what it was. It was all necessities. And I remember one year I got this Jungle Gym rifle. And when we played guns, it was pow pow, you're dead, you fall over, you get up and you play some more. Not what we're experiencing today, and it's a whole different genre. Now this is 65 years ago.
Wow. You respawned right away. You could technically speak.
But from about 7 on, everything was a basketball. I mean, I lived with a basketball in my hand.
Wow. So are you a Harlem Globetrotters fan?
I can be. I've been to see them a couple times, and they're really incredibly magical. What I have learned, now this is again, it goes down a darker side, but basketball was a thing that kept me safe, because I left early in the morning from my household and stayed out as late as I could. I played basketball every day, whether it was snowing or not. I would have a shovel, and basketball was something that just kept me safe. Yeah, and when I think about urban basketball and midnight basketball, all those other types of basketballs, how important it is that we are not talking about it. That for so many kids who are traumatized, sports, athletic, basketball was one of those things. Why did I have such court sense? Because I could read a court really well. Because I always knew where the next clubbing could come from. So I was hyper vigilant. So it served me on the basketball court. And I played in Philly. I played in a lot of 6-foot underlays. And I was often one of a minority of whites that would play. So I found a home on the basketball court.
Wow. Home, place of refuge, and a place to use your...
It was absolutely a place of refuge.
Wow. Well, this leads me to my next question. When you were a kid and you're running around playing basketball, doing all that stuff, what did you want to do, or what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, that's really fascinating. Sorry. I wanted to be...
We want fascinating, Steve.
I mean,
that's good.
This is so silly. I either wanted to be a bishop. I went to a Catholic school. I wanted to be a bishop or an army man. That's how we said it.
Well, they're totally related. Wow. Did you know why? Or just what you saw and said, let's do that?
No, I tried to apply this for seminary two times, after 8th grade and after sophomore year of high school. And in 8th grade, the pastor would not approve it. I had to have his approval. He wouldn't approve it. And then in sophomore year, I really wanted to go, but then I started to experience women or girls, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's a mismatch with this. Yeah.
Maybe the bishop thing isn't for me.
Yeah. But both of them to me had power, and so I think as a kid I was really seeking power, and I saw bishop because bishop was readily accessible in Philadelphia at that time. I mean, they were there. They would come to parishes, so they had power. Now, somebody said, why do you want to be Pope? Because Pope was non-existent to me, out of sight, out of mind. So bishop was kind of the thing. And I really did lean into religion, my Catholicism, thinking that would kind of help me heal. And it gave me a lot of opened up a lot of good questions for me.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks. I did not know that about you, Steve. Yeah. Okay, we are now at number 7, question 7. We've only got 4 left. You're doing great.
Okay.
Question number 7 is, what brings you joy?
That is so easy. It is easy. Really, this is not trying to be hokey, but this has been something I've thought about a lot. Really looking in the kids' eyes and see that sparkle, see that connection. And as an educator all my life, I've always had that interesting ability to connect with kids. Even kids who would look at me and go, but I could connect over time because I was consistent and principled in my approach or my lack of approach. So there was always a stance. I love that. And, parallel to that is watching teachers that we've had engagements with do that same thing. I love that. Okay, that's my kind of overarching piece. The other thing that brings me joy, and it's really hanging with my grandson, Milo.
I know. I love hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, it is remarkable, just remarkable. We sit around and we plan mischief when he spends the night. We spend time and we talk about what kind of mischief we're going to get into, how we're going to try to get over on my wife, or, push the boundaries somewhere, eat popcorn in bed, help me do laundry, and I throw all the darks and the whites together. I just, eat things he's definitely not supposed to eat. And last 2 weekends ago, he was sleeping in our bedroom, and my wife was out needle pointing, and he did a belly crawl out of our bedroom, behind the couch, through a hallway, around to the kitchen, and snagged 2 Oreo cookies and got them back to me without being caught.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, you can just imagine him just belly crawling, not getting caught by Luann. She's there needle pointing away, and he has to go down this little hallway, past the front door, through the dining room, in the kitchen, and lift the jar opening. Oh, it was phenomenal.
So, can I ask how old he is as of today?
He's 9.
He's 9. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That totally reminds me of Toy Story when the army men and they're on that mission in the house and everything else is going. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, that was really cool. But what if we flip it and the next question would be, what brings you dread?
Oh, shame. I have again, as a kid that has experienced trauma, I still feel the hypervigilance. And growing up, I grew up with a lot of shame. And people say it doesn't have to define you. I would say it hasn't defined me, but it has helped me. But I still experience it. And when I feel their shame and through the hypervigilance, I read. That was one of the advantages of it for me as a teacher, because I was so hypervigilant. I could really see kids differently, and I was hypervigilant about not shaming them. Yeah.
Is that what you mean by shame helping you, and that you were very hypervigilant about not shaming others?
It helped me, but I still am very susceptible to it. So if when I'm doing a talk and I see somebody just really, really struggling with it, or just like, it's like, okay, how do I really lean into them differently? But I'm very susceptible to shame, and it creates doubt, and that's a bad place for me. So I can still experience it, and just had an experience yesterday. And the good news was I have developed to the point where I can lean into it a little bit more and talk about it with the persons who are involved. And good, bad, or ugly, they will often create shaming behaviors without even knowing they're doing shaming behaviors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's not a box that was checked and done. It's something that you could still experience as of yesterday, but now you've got the tools to engage and not only work through it on your own, but educate other people, so if they're doing shaming behaviors, they have an awareness, so they can choose something different.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay, last 2 questions on the home stretch. Question number 9. What do you want to accomplish but cannot do on your own?
Well, that's, again, there's multiple layers to that. Because as a kid, for a long time, I've had to learn how to survive on my own.
Yeah.
And so finding together experiences, and this is something I've struggled with for a long time, and how to let people help me differently. And that's hard. And it's a constant struggle.
Well, sure. I mean, it's a survival thing for you.
It comes. And these are the things that I think we are not attending to children walking into a classroom, to employees walking into a workplace. There are some people who really don't know how and don't know what help looks like. They truly don't. And it's not a prefrontal cortex piece. It goes back here into, what do my relationships look like? What do my attachments look like? That all start here and eventually go to your prefrontal cortex. And so we have a lot of retooling to do. And so that is uniquely challenging. And but I would love for I visualized as a basketball player. I did a lot of visualizations. I could step up to a foul line and 100 for 100 free throws, okay, in my head. And I was about a 75% free throw shooter, which is marginal for a guard. So I would visualize what that, how to lean into some of those conversations, and when I'm working with others to talk about those visualizations out loud and as wonder questions. I wonder what it would look like. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the last question. Question number 10. What do you hope people will say about you after you are gone?
That's a pretty popular question in my head right now.
Really?
Well, it's, I just hit 70. I'm getting ready for my Renaissance.
I know.
And, as I think about what that Renaissance is, what are people going to say? And actually something I'm getting ready for a meeting right after this. It's about part of my departure, and it's called a legacy of love. Mm-hmm. So if I could leave thinking that, I was loving.
Yeah.
And I promoted love and hugs and things in that all the adjectives around that. And every time I get a former student, fairly recently I was walking through this office building, and I saw this guy carrying a cart of things. He had 2 dogs, and I looked at him and went, Jed. And he was like, Steve. I had him when he was 3 years old, okay? He's 49. He's a clinical social worker, has an office here in St. Louis and one in Chicago. And how we were able to recognize each other 46 years later.
Yeah. I'm guessing he doesn't look the same.
He is similar but different. But what was unique is when he was in my classroom, he was going through a really tough divorce situation in his household, and I was there. So I knew him, not just facially, but I knew his heart.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. So you picked up on his heart 46 years later.
And to be able to see him again, that's where the link was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Legacy of love.
Yeah.
Steve, you're amazing. I really appreciate your level of authenticity and vulnerability today in sharing a bit of you so people can get to know more about Steve Zwolak, the amazing. Because
how hard that is to hear you say that just kills me. So, Jeff, thank you so much. Love you so much. And I appreciate everything you do for our world.